builder and remodeler from Fayetteville, Arkansas. My dad is a builder. This is literally all I've done all my life. And especially starting about 2008, my world kind of changed a little bit, and there were some things I didn't think I was going to be doing that all of a sudden I was doing. But it's been a great experience. It's been a growing experience for me. And as I look back at those things, I found that, you know, when we do kitchen and bath work, there's kind of really 4 different types of work that we've done. The one type, which was pretty much what all we did back before 2008, was just super high-end, super custom, kind of the sky's the limit sort of work. But then as things started changing a little bit, we found ourselves doing, you know, other categories like, you know, maybe sort of semi-custom factory cabinets out of a box. Occasionally we would work with those on a job. And then I also started doing some other projects where we use ready-to-assemble cabinets, which this is a ready-to-assemble cabinet, actually from Custom Service Hardware, who's been kind enough to help us with a lot of this stuff. And the amazing thing is, if you see this box back here, all that cabinet comes out of the box. Here's kind of some of the parts that had to do with that. And then the final thing that we did, and again, these are really just representing different price points, is just doing things where we would go in. What I'm going to talk about today a lot is refurbishing, repairing, fixing. Now, one of the things that I've learned, and I'm not a great businessman, one of the things I've learned is we're all in this to make money and make a fair profit and hopefully stay in business. There was a time when I thought, well, you know, if you want to have a good business and make a good living, you need to work for all those people just in that top end. You know, those people that are doing the really high-end custom stuff. But one of the things I've discovered over the last few years is what I really want to be doing is working for good people. I found that there are people in that super high-end category that they wouldn't allow you to make any money because they were so hard to work for and they made your life miserable. And then I also found that there were some people down towards the, you know, the ready to assemble or that just refurbish their cabinets that were so thankful, were great people to work for, and you can make money doing that. And so part of what this presentation is about is, you know, how to find those price points where you don't necessarily have to, and there's great people, I work with some great people in that high end too, but more than anything, how can you maybe hit all those price points and be able to work for good people, not necessarily just people that, you know, have extreme demands and extreme pocketbooks. Okay, hopefully I want to get this thing going here. I'm just going to show you a couple of examples real quick. This is an example of a kitchen that definitely needs some remodeling. There's the after picture. Another picture in the same kitchen, different wall. There's the after picture. And in this example, we did not change out the boxes. We basically just redid the doors. We actually repurposed some of the material to make those doors. So, but there are some things that you kind of have to determine to say, is it even possible to do that non-destructive kitchen remodel? The number one thing is, what's the condition of the boxes? You know, if those boxes are about to fall apart or they've had a lot of water damage or some things like that, you know, then that's probably going to be a non-starter right there. One of the other things that we really have to work around if we're going to try not to just gut the whole kitchen, which by the way, it always bothers me, those shows on TV where the first thing they do is they like bring out a sledgehammer and just start tearing everything up. And I just don't like that. So, but location of the appliances is a very rough deal. If, you know, if they start saying, well, I want to take the refrigerator and put it over here and I need to move the sink here, or, you know, things like that, then that's kind of a deal killer too. One of the things that we have done though, you know, a lot of times we say, well, I'd really like to have a double oven, and there are those, anybody used any of those ovens? I actually put one in my house where it's a range, but it has a double oven underneath it. So that is one way that you can kind of get around that and still give people that, what they want in the double oven. I found to be pretty good. In my instance, I know my wife and I like ours. Now, another thing is, and it can go back and forth both ways, we do quite a few jobs where people want to go from stained to painted. And you can certainly do that all day. But now, if you're sitting there and someone has a painted cabinet and they want to take it to stain, well, you can strip it down, but you're probably going to spend more money as worse. So that's kind of a deal killer. Another thing is just the percentage of how much needs to be changed, what they're wanting to do. And then occasionally I have run into jobs where it's just, your budget is just not enough really to accomplish any of your goals or very few of your goals. Okay, so really there's two different types of upgrades or things that we do to kitchens when we're not tearing them out. And the one is what I would just break down as functional upgrades. We're going to go through a list of those. And then the next one is appearance upgrades. When we're getting ready for this presentation, we were kind of having a discussion about, well, which one's more important, which one really sells? And I think that kind of depends on the client. I've had people that say, hey, I don't really care how well it works, I just want it to really, really look good. And then there's some that's like, I don't care what it looks like, I just want to be able, my kitchen do this, this, and this, because we cook in here every day. So, but that's kind of the way that we break down the two different, some are functional and some are just appearance upgrades. We're going to go ahead and go through the functional ones first. And one of the ones that can drive some other things is upgrading the countertops, which where I live, that almost always means, granite or some type of stone countertops. But that also leads to, there's another thing, and that would be, replacing the drawer slides. Many of these old cabinets either have those single mount drawer slides. They might have even just wood, and then sometimes they've got the old epoxy wraparounds or whatever. But one thing is for sure, if you're ever going to do an upgrade either to the drawer boxes or to the drawer slides, the time to do it is while you got those tops off, because it is so much easier to do. Now, I've had to do some of the others, and there's a wide variety of different things that you can do to upgrade the drawer slides. One that we do quite a bit, and I'm actually just going to show it because it's what's on this cabinet, are the undermounts. So that's a pretty nice upgrade, but this is not a full extension. But these are a very economical price point drawer slide. And then you can get all the way to the bloom, full extension, soft close. I mean, that's a huge upgrade. But the thing that you have to remember when you're considering swapping out the hardware to upgrade, many times that's also going to involve having to rebuild the drawer box, especially if you've got those old center mount or even no slides at all. So the one thing that you have to know is you kind of have to make that decision about what hardware am I going to use before you start building drawer boxes, because there's different amounts of spacing required on a drawer box. Now, a lot of times where I live, we build a real simple drawer box. I'm going to switch back when I got to have this out. So I just wanted to real quick just demonstrate what we often do to build it. It's a real simple drawer box, but it's very, very functional. I've never had one give me any kind of problem. And these will work. You can, depending on where you put the plywood bottom, they'll work for just about any type of drawer slide. Again, you just have to make your decision about what the hardwoods or the hardware is going to be before you start building them. So what I want to do, just real quick, and we always just nail these, pretty much always just nail these together with 18 gauge brads. Normally I have a little bit more room to work, but hopefully I'm going to be able to get this together up here without having a disaster. If I start running them out, somebody tell me. It's always amazing how easy it is to run a nail out or something in front of a whole bunch of people. But I have heard people tell me that they really, really like that because they know this is not staged, if I make a mistake. And one of the things I love about building this type of drawer box is we've always got loads of scrap 3/4 plywood that you can cut up for that back piece. The rest of this I'm made out of the 1/2-inch Baltic birch that you can buy in a lot of different places. I've seen people make that 3/4, it doesn't really matter. Again, the only thing you got to just keep in mind is just how wide do I need to, how much clearance do I need for my hardware. And actually you just use, the plywood bottom is what squares up the drawer. I can go ahead and put some nails there, but I might run one out. So I'm thinking like I better stop on the head. And then what I would do with this is just have a, you just have a single piece drawer front that you can put on. Again, this is super easy to do, but it's something you can do very economically. Again, it doesn't take a whole lot of tools, really. If you got some type of a nailer, a miter saw, and I usually even make this dado just on a table saw. But at any rate, really, really easy to do to be able to, upgrade drawers for people. Okay, another thing that I think adds a lot of function and is really helpful is to convert to adjustable shelves. And I think I've got just a real quick little series of slides here. Yeah. So the number one thing you got to do first is get rid of the old shelves that are nailed in place. And so what we usually do is drill a hole in the back and then jigsaw or sawzall over and knock the old shelf out. And we'll just take a piece of 3/4 material that's been pre-drilled, slide it over on each side, again use some 18 gauge nails and nail that piece in place. Again, so I haven't done anything really to modify the box other than just adding some pieces on the side. So maybe I've lost, depending if I used 1/2-inch plywood or 3/4 plywood, but I really haven't lost that much room in the box. And I've upgraded to a nice adjustable shelf, which I think really is a great upgrade. And for a lot of years, people didn't offer adjustable shelves. Again, you can, lots of different ways to drill those shelf pin holes. I've got a machine in my shop, but my friends, I'm going to plug real quick with my friends at Craig. They make a great, very economical shelf pin jig. Okay, another thing now, especially as I get older, that is really, really nice is to add a pull-out shelf in the bottom, so that when you want to get at those things that are in the bottom of a base cabinet, instead of getting down your hands and knees and reaching back in there, you can pull that shelf out to you and access those things. And several different ways of doing that, but the process is extremely similar to what I did making this drawer. Only this one's a little bit more difficult because I've got the front piece is a little bit different. And I don't have one here with me, but Custom Service Hardware has a really easy little drawer slide that makes this, but it's actually specifically designed for pull-out shelves. It really makes this easy. I don't have one with me, but I've got a picture of one. Okay. For this, I do put I put the little front of this pull-out shelf to cover up the side pieces, because there's not going to be a fifth piece to this combination. There won't be a box and a drawer front. And you could add a drawer front if you wanted to. And you might ask, generally I never put glue in this. I've never really had any problems. It's amazing what these brads will hold. And I'm actually just using 1¼ brads. Now, the only real difference in this configuration is the plywood is going to go on the very bottom, and then the hardware wraps around for these pullouts. And I'm going to quit, hopefully while I'm ahead. So again, this is something, instead of having to get on my hands and knees, reach in there, it doesn't take very much time nor very much material to create a pull-out shelf that I can put in there. And We'll take a look here real quick. So there's actually a pair of them put in place. Again, that's very, very similar to this. And it's just got the wraparound hardware, and I don't know if you can see or not in the back, but there's a little tab that screws down to the base of the cabinet. So it's just super easy to install these. Just put them in and just screw them down the bottom, and you're done in almost no time. So to me, that's a great upgrade, especially, you know, the older I get, I want to have those pull out. So, all right. I don't know how I'm doing on time. I want to just keep blazing along. It makes me feel kind of comfortable in the job. So I've got Johnny Cash in the background, you know. It's just like being at work at home. Okay, another thing that we've often done in a lot of these older kitchens, they didn't put drawer stacks in. And so what we did here, and this isn't a great slide, if you look at to the left of that stove, there's just a door and a drawer there. And we came back in and built a drawer stack there. And that's really pretty easy to do with everybody familiar with pocket screws? You know, I can add this rail anywhere through here by just clamping it in place and driving a couple pocket screws. So it's pretty easy, and I get a really good structural joint. So usually in a kitchen, if there's not a drawer stack, we try to see if we can't find at least one spot, get rid of the door, and give them a drawer stack. Okay, here's another one. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can just take inside the drawer box. I don't know that I've got everything cut to length, but again, you know, we use a lot of this Baltic birch plywood. Now this isn't going to fit in here, but you could just put these dividers in here, nail through the bottom, and you're done. But one of the things I saw some guys do, which I think makes a lot of sense, I'm almost hesitant to do this because I'm getting ready to lose my work surface here, but is actually, you know, just take a piece of plywood and wherever you want those dividers to be, you know, you just nail. If this piece of plywood was cut to fit inside that drawer, then you'd have drawer dividers that you could lift out, and really all you've lost is just the thickness of the piece of 1/4-inch plywood. And again, you know, you can configure these any way you want to. In this instance, I'm gonna go ahead and just use a headless pinner for this. This is a gas-powered cordless or headless pinner. So, you know, using the headless pins, I can configure this. I can, you know, do whatever I wanted to, you know, to create. Obviously, the links are way off, but you know, I can configure something. And then when I nail through the plywood into this, I've got a divider that I can literally take out, do whatever I want to. So I thought that was a pretty neat little trick where they were just, instead of permanently fixing it in the drawer, they just used a piece of 1/4-inch plywood and nailed their dividers to it. This is the part where I gotta be careful not to get my tools mixed up between the two. Okay, one of the things that can be very, very important, and especially as you're working in older homes, lack of ventilation. So many times you go into the house, there's either no ventilation or they've got one of those nice venting microwaves that just, not getting anything out of the house. So we always try to do something to improve the ventilation. This is just a couple pictures. Doesn't have to be anywhere near this complicated, but this is an article I did for JL, the Journal of Light Construction, 4 or 5 years ago, on just building a custom vent hood. But it can be just as simple as just going to the trouble of, you know, all those microwaves that vent back in the room. If you pull it down, there's a little place there you can take a plate off of it, hook a pipe to it, and then you are actually doing some good ventilating. And so that's something I think that's really, really important functionally, is to improve ventilation, or it's not too hard to improve it if there isn't any to begin with. Okay, another thing is to improve lighting. And again, as I'm getting older, the more lighting I can have, the better. There's all manner of options and things for lighting. Frank, you guys have a lot of options for that, don't you? Custom service hardware. Again, just so many things are available. The new LED stuff is just incredible, and I'm sure all of y'all have had, worked with that, but that's one of those things that can make such a huge difference and the way the kitchens look. You know, if you noticed in my before and after pictures, have you ever noticed those pictures where guys lose weight, or people lose weight? It's got, well, look, they grew more hair, got a suntan, they're smiling, and they lost weight. Well, that's sort of the thing with that picture. It's like, okay, we did the cabinets nice and things, improved the countertops, but even just having the light makes a huge difference in how things look. Okay, and I didn't really know, perhaps I should have put, replacing hinges as a functional upgrade, but that's also one of the things that we do just an awful lot of, and especially if you're going from stained to painted, it's something you can do fairly painlessly. Now, if someone's got stained cabinets, it can be a little more difficult to, because you usually got those screws in the face frame, they're a little bit hard to deal with. Again, there's all different levels of hinges that you can use. These are just some examples of ones that are going to mount. I believe these are actually made for frameless cabinetry. Then also there are ones that to go on face frames. I personally, a lot of my work is with face frame cabinetry. Then there's just the little compacts. But again, even this hinge is a tremendous upgrade over those ones that mount on the face. One of the things I really like about them is they've got adjustability built into them. I'm telling my age, but I'm old enough to remember, those little hinges that they put, the exposed ones, where the only adjustment that the cabinet guy made is he bent on them. They'd like put their fingers like a bend here and there, and they were pretty good, but every now and then they'd bend them too much, and then you're pretty much done. So upgrading hinges and also knobs and pulls is really can make a huge difference in how cabinets look. And of course, again, much easier to do this if you're going from stained to painted or just changing the finish painted. Okay, replacing the doors. Again, there's an example before or after. We make some of our own doors. I have some video out there. Have any of y'all ever heard of This Is Carpentry at all? Gary Katz is online. It is a totally free service that you can get videos and things. They'll send it to you once a month. They don't charge anything. I did it was about an hour-long video for Gary, and I demonstrated, making drawers, making cabinet boxes, and ways to make doors without any special tools. So, I would encourage, it's just like thisiscarpentry.com. Doesn't cost anything. About once every 2 weeks, you're going to get some really good content just free. But having said that, there are also lots of places where you can buy doors. There's all sorts of places out here that you can just order and buy doors for replacements. And Custom Service Hardware has some services for people. Conestoga is who their source is. So lots of different options there, and that can really make a difference in how your cabinets look when you replace those doors. Excuse me. Okay, now we're getting near and dear to my heart. I know in a lot of places people don't do this, but where I live we still like moldings a lot. And so there's lots of ways that you can upgrade the looks of cabinets by adding moldings. I'm going to see if I can turn this back into a work surface. And a lot of times you just got a straight slab drawer front. Now, one of the great things about adding molding to something like this is to make this drawer front look good. I'm not buying just a whole lot of molding, and it's a fairly inexpensive molding, and there are even some that are less expensive than this. And so what we'll do, usually, don't tell them I did that. When I'm working with a headless printer, I usually take the nose piece off. Okay, good thing he's there. I was about to go with the regular tool. Okay, now I got to take the nose piece off this one. This is probably going to be a little bit sloppy, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and tack this on. And one of the great things too about doing this is your cuts are pretty much repetitive. So again, if you plan, it doesn't take a whole lot to get this done. This might actually be a pretty good time because you can kind of see you know, the difference. To me, that makes a huge difference. It's going to get to be even more of a difference once you put finish on it. You know, this particular piece has a little rope on it, all kinds of little moldings that you can do to upgrade things like that. Now, somewhere around here, I believe I have a cabinet door. There's also lots of opportunity. Now, the one thing you have to keep in mind, anytime you're adding moldings to a drawer front or a door is, just keep in mind what's it doing to my opportunities to put a pull or something on there, okay? I have got myself in trouble on that too. But I love molding, so we usually work around it. So, you know, this is just a pretty standard raised panel door. This is just a small molding that you actually, you know, any big box store, whatever's going to have this molding. But you can just come in. I'm just going to have to try and guess where this goes. But just put a small reveal. And all of a sudden you're creating a lot of depth and some really nice shadow lines. So again, I think maybe the most effective thing to do is kind of hold the door up and kind of see both sides of it. Now, something else that we've done, when I was getting ready for this, I was just like picking up scraps of molding and stuff that were on the floor in the shop. But this is a molding that I just took to a table saw and rebaited the edge. But if you happen to have and gee, I guess if you had a door that was square corner and wasn't rounded, you might even just be able to flip it over and use the back instead of the front. But and the, you know, the more the square corner style, I recognize that that's being more and more popular. I probably didn't do a good job, but I mean, you know, if you had a square frame, and which, by the way, one of the easiest, if you are maybe looking for a way to make your own doors, one of the easiest things in the world is to do, you know, something that's square corner. You can even pocket screw the joints together. So again, there's just lots of things that we do with moldings. Probably like to get a better joint than that, but anyway. Trying to watch the time carefully here. One of the other things that we run into all the time are the, you know, it's so popular to leave the cabinets down, you know, a foot down or 16 inches down from the ceiling and do all that decorating up there. There's lots and lots of people after, you know, 10 or 12 years of trying to decide whether to dust that up there or not, but they're pretty much over that. And so there's a couple options that you can do at that point. The more expensive option is to come in just to build a whole other set of cabinets up above there, which we've done that several times, and it's not a bad option. Or sometimes you can just do a fairly massive build down with moldings like we did here. And again, that's really, it's not that hard once you get started, and as long as you keep track of how all the pieces go together. There's lots of details you can do to just fill that space. And it doesn't even have to be super busy. You know, if you were using maybe a cove mold and some little square edge pieces, you can still do some things to fill that up and not get maybe to this level of detail. But that's one of the things we've had a lot of people say, I'm so tired of having that display space above my cabinets, and I'd like to get rid of it and go to more of a look like this. The one thing that you absolutely want to avoid, if at all possible, is making it look like we did in the 60s and 70s. We built this fur down box sheetrock and stuck the cabinets up underneath it. You want it to look more like it's going straight up from the cabinet face. Another thing, it's a small thing, you know, any shelf, if you just take a molding and put on the front of it, just makes a huge difference. It's the simplest molding put on, and of course it's going to add strength. Also, if there's already just a square edge molding, you might just take a router to it, just add a little bit of detail or something. But just adding molding to the front of a shelf can make a huge difference. Okay, another one, you know, change the finish. These were actually kind of a light oak cabinet, which is not real popular anymore. went in and put a glaze on it. Okay, again, here's just some examples. This is the kitchen before we put the molding on, and actually, I think what I want to do at this point, because one of the things that I wanted to show you is I was talking about, again, my business more than anything is I just want to be working for good people. And so instead of telling people, no, I can't work for you, I want to find a way that I can work for good people. And so these ready to assemble cabinets are something that's been really, really good for us, because there's been several times where people just didn't have that budget. And so I'm hoping to demonstrate, but can you come up and help me? I'm hoping I can demonstrate without making a mess in about 5 minutes how to actually put one together. Let's see, it's going to be a little more difficult without this one. I think I'll throw the box on top. Could we use the box maybe as a... Of course, there's also some of the parts in here, but anyway. There we go. All right, so, and there's multiple ways that these can go together. Some of them go together with like cam locks and things, but I actually kind of tend to like the ones that go together with the brad nails. It's because I'm a carpenter, I guess. I have all this stuff in the old easier. Okay, we probably want the sides next, you think? So if we can pull this off without turning over the screen, it's going to be really good. Okay, see, everything is all, you notice it's all dadoed and rebated, so it, it's just going to go together. Now, I know I've got, here we go. If we were doing this permanently, we'd use some glue, but these little corner blocks are what allow us to attach the face frame to the box. So the biggest thing we got to do, let's see, that lines up. Trying to remember, is line up on the bottom or on the top? Are you lined up at the very top there, Frank? Just lined up on the top. We've got to be in the right spot. I know I want to make sure I miss where that hinge goes. And here I need to make sure I'm far enough down that my little plastic clip on the top. Okay, that is one burly piece of wood. I'm hoping we're not fixing to demonstrate. There we go. We hit something? Good deal. So there's nothing like trying to do, a 5 to 10 minute job in 3 minutes to lead to things. Okay, is the top flush there? All right. I think I'm in pretty good shape here. Oops, I'm going to get up there where I need to be. I would be putting plywood on this if I was doing it out in the field. I'm just going to run around here real quick and tack this block in. Oh, this is going to be a challenge. I got to do it left-handed. That almost never happens. It was just a good day. Okay. See, this is the bottom, correct? So it's just, again, it all just goes together. Maybe putting it upside down. We got it upside down? On it. Well, now, I wouldn't have known that, except the one we put together this morning, I started out doing it backwards. Now, most of the time, these boxes, you're going to be putting boxes together, so it really doesn't matter how many nails you shoot through the side, but you could also use head, if this was going to be the end of a cabinet run, and I didn't want to put a finished end panel, they sell finished end panels also, but I could also do this with headless pins, and then I wouldn't have, quite as big a hole there, although this is a pretty small hole. Are we going to roll now? Not quite. Not yet. I like the way that went. I'm going to go ahead and unfortunately I got a little bit. When I got back there, I said, man, I should have brought that rubber hammer that we had back at the booth. Oh, there we go.
That's a good one.
Just gotta swing around there. So I better be done pretty quick because I'm starting to see that I'm getting ready to hit lockout on this. But, so in essence, I just put together a cabinet box. Now, all the hardware stuff, and we're about out of time, but it's all pre-drilled for the slides. Just go in. You know, there's starter holes for the hinges and everything. And this is a great way, again, to find one of those price points where you can be working for good people, giving them a great product, instead of saying, no, I just can't do that. Now, I think I've pretty much gone through all my slides. So at this point, I think I probably just need to open it up for questions and also make sure that we sign off if anybody needs to be signed off for it. But any